I knew something was wrong the moment the timestamp didn't make sense. The office was still half asleep early, light pressing low across the windows, the HVAC, breathing in slow metallic waves. But my screen glowed sharper than it should, like it was waiting for me, watching me, daring me. The inbox refreshed once, stopped, refreshed again. A tiny flicker at the corner of the screen. My fingertip froze above the mouse. A quiet pause. Wounded, but steady. I leaned in, letting the screen's cold light wash across my cheek. The world around me softened, keyboards tapping far away, someone murmuring near the printer, the faint ring of a phone that didn't belong to me. There it was. A newly read email stamped at 7:12 a.m. My badge didn't swipe in until 7:18. My chest pulled tight, slow, controlled. Not fear, not panic, just that familiar, heavy ache. Black women learn to swallow so silently it never disturbs the room. I clicked the message, and the whole office vanished into blur. HR. Promotion. Offer, congratulations. Melanie! My breath didn't rush out. It retreated. I blinked once. Slow. Measured. A stillness settled around my shoulders like a curtain falling. I didn't open this. I didn't archive this. I didn't even know this existed. My finger stayed suspended in the air, a small, quiet refusal to process what my screen was already screaming. Then the deeper wound revealed itself. The email wasn't just marked red. It was marked red yesterday. Yesterday, when I was in back-to-back meetings across the building. Yesterday, when my manager, Lucas, avoided eye contact so deliberately it felt rehearsed. Yesterday, when something in the air felt off, tense, unspoken. The timestamp wasn't wrong. The behavior was. A thin line of metadata glowed beneath the subject line. Accessed via proxy device. Proxy, not me. My jaw tightened just enough to count as a micro-gesture. The kind I learned to hide because anything bigger becomes overreacting, emotional, difficult, not ready for leadership. I swallowed quietly, soft-spoken but unshakable, wounded but steady. Every Black woman who has ever been bypassed in silence knows that swallow. Footsteps moved behind me. Lucas walked past, pretending to check the printer. He didn't greet me, didn't pause, didn't breathe in my direction, but his eyes flicked to my screen. A fast flick, a guilty flick, a flick he thought I wouldn't catch. I caught it. He kept walking, but his shoulders tight, clipped, betrayed him. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a glitch. This was intention. A cold breath from the AC brushed my skin. My pulse slowed into a deliberate rhythm. Quiet, strategic, alert. Not anger. Not yet. But disbelief sliding into something sharper. A quiet rage smoothed into composure because survival demands it. I opened the email details slowly, carefully, like I was holding glass. The promotion was real. The offer was real. The timeline was real, and I was never meant to see it. I let out a quiet exhale, thin, bruised, barely sound, truth settling where trust had lived. I straightened my spine, quiet, observant, strategic. My fingertips lowered to the mouse with intention. One thought pulsed through me, clear, sharp, unignorable. Oh, I know this feeling. That moment when someone decides your career should move slower than your capability. That moment when recognition arrives but hidden behind a door they hoped you'd never open. That moment when silence screams louder than words. Emotion rippled through my chest. Hurt, yes, but not breaking. Awareness sharpened. Strategy rose. Opportunities can be hidden, but hidden opportunities always leave a trace. And someone underestimated my ability to see it. I clicked into the metadata. More anomalies, more edits, more fingerprints. Not sloppy, not rushed, structured. My throat tightened, a controlled swallow anchoring me in place. Finally, I leaned back, hurt shifting into clarity, clarity shifting into intent. My voice inside myself whispered, measured and true. It wasn't just the offer they hid, it was the belief that I wouldn't notice when my future was being handled behind my back. I glanced again at the timestamp. If the timestamp was wrong, then the log was lying. If the log was lying, then someone was writing a story about me without me. My hand hovered over the mouse, slower this time. I wasn't going to look away. Not today. Not after everything I've earned. I clicked into the system logs. The page loaded like a curtain rising. Line after line. Entry after entry. A story someone hoped had never read. The hum of the office grew quiet around me. Still, watching. And I understood something simple, sharp, undeniable. They thought hiding the offer would keep me in my place, but they forgot I prepare for moments like this. A soft power gathered in my lungs, quiet strength building its stance. The scene froze. My breath steadied. This is only the beginning. Would you walk away or fight back? Tell me in the comments. The office felt different after I saw that email. Not louder, not busier, just tighter. Like the air itself knew something I wasn't supposed to know. I sat a little farther back in my chair, letting the screen's glow reflect off my glasses while I kept my face still. Neutral. Too calm for anyone to read. The kind of calm black women master because corporate rooms often mistake our truth for threat. My hand hovered over the mouse, then lowered with deliberate control. If the offer existed, if it was real, if I was never meant to see it, then the timestamp was only the doorway. The evidence lived under it. I opened the system log. The first line blinked at me. Proxy access Monday 7:12 a.m. Not me. Not possible. I scrolled. Proxy access Monday 7:23 a.m. 2 accesses. 2 separate moments. Too precise. A small breath tightened in my chest. Quiet confusion, sliding into quiet hurt. I didn't let it reach my face. Not here. Not now. I tucked the emotion down with a slow swallow, the same reflex that's carried me through micro-sabotages, micro-judgments, micro-pauses in rooms where you're impressive means but we didn't expect you to be. The logs loaded slower as I dug deeper, almost like they were resisting me. Line 44. Line 45. Line 46. Nothing unusual. Then line 47. Archived external trigger. Restored internal system. My shoulders rose the smallest fraction, a breath I didn't quite finish. Someone touched the message. Someone archived it. Someone restored it. Someone played with it twice. Not clumsy. Not random. Intentional. I clicked the arrow to expand details. Metadata unfurled like secrets peeling open. Viewed proxy user. I felt it again low in my ribs. That quiet, bruised recognition. That lived experience feeling. Oh, I know this. The discomfort of being managed quietly. The silence of being handled around. The pain of realizing your success was delayed not by lack, but by design. I straightened my spine, grounding myself in the chair. My fingertip tapped the desk once, barely a sound. A private rhythm, a signal to myself. Stay sharp. Stay steady. Stay strategic. I opened Slack in a separate window. Not to respond. Just to observe. The team thread lit up. Lucas posted, "Great job yesterday, everyone. Appreciate the hustle. Too cheerful. Too timed. Too coordinated." I didn't respond. Didn't react. Didn't even hover over it. just watched it sit there like a smile painted over a bruise. I returned to the logs. Line 52. Line 53. Then, routing path, manager filter. Enabled. My breath paused, caught in my throat, held hostage for half a second. Not fear. Recognition. Manager filter. Meaning, someone ensured certain emails passed through him first. Meaning, someone wanted visibility over my career updates. Meaning, someone wanted control. The room felt colder suddenly, though nothing changed. Light still fell through the blinds. Papers still rustled across the floor. Keyboards still clicked in uneven rhythms. But I felt the shift. We always feel shifts before anyone names them. I clicked deeper. A new column appeared. Manual override Tuesday, 9:43 p.m. Long after I left the building. Long after everyone left the building. My chest tightened. My jaw held still. My eyes narrowed, slow and intentional. Who sits in a dark office editing HR documents past 9 p.m.? Who would need to? Who benefits if my offer never reaches me? I didn't answer the question. Not out loud. Not yet. I knew better than to speak before the truth is ready. My screen reflected a faint outline of my face, calm, still, steady, but my mind was already 10 steps further, tracing the logic. If they accessed it twice Monday, and again Tuesday night, and the manager filter exists, then someone wasn't hiding a mistake. They were hiding a pattern. I opened my private notes. Typed, check version history. Another Slack ping chimed behind me. I ignored it. Quiet strength settled in my shoulders, gentle but solid. I clicked into the version history. The page loaded. V1. 0 HR Director. Upload V2. 0. System reroute. Manager filter applied. V3. 0. Proxy edit V3. 2. Rearchive. V3. 2.1. Forward block. Applied. My fingertip froze above the trackpad. My breath shortened. Thin but sharp hurt. Aware. Rising. This wasn't random. This wasn't someone clicking the wrong thing. This was choreography. A plan with timing. Steps. Sequencing. Someone touched my future on purpose. Someone slowed my trajectory quietly, softly, systematically. A pulse moved through my chest, low and steady. Not rage, not despair, clarity. I leaned back a little, letting the truth settle without rushing to react. The air tasted different, like the moment before a storm breaks, but the sky hasn't admitted it yet. I scrolled to the bottom of the log. The last line hit harder than I expected. Reminder disabled. Manual override. They didn't just hide the offer. They turned off the alert that would have told me it existed. A quiet ache moved through me, deep, personal, familiar. The ache of being underestimated. The ache of being managed downward. The ache of being expected not to notice. I held my breath for 2 seconds, then released it, slow, steady, intentional. I wasn't breaking. I was waking. Patterns don't lie. People do. Systems hide. Logs reveal. The truth doesn't shout. It waits. And it waits for people like me. People who see what others assume we won't. I looked at the scattered anomalies across the screen. Proxy access. Overrides. Filters. Timestamps. And felt the shape of something bigger forming behind them. Something deliberate. Something organized. Something I was never meant to uncover. A small shiver moved down my spine, not from fear, but from understanding. This wasn't about a promotion. This wasn't about one email. This was about someone deciding I should move through this company slower than I deserve. Quiet frustration, mixed with quiet resolve, slow, steady, rising. I centered myself in the chair, shoulders level, breath calm. Emotional truth. The deeper I looked, The clearer it became this wasn't a single mistake. It was a door quietly closed before I ever reached it. Strategic implication. If the logs tell part of the story, then something else must be buried beneath them. And I need to follow the trail. Soft cliffhanger. This goes deeper than I thought. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the audit log like it was speaking a language I already knew but had never heard out loud. The numbers blurred, then sharpened every timestamp, every reroute, every override, forming a pattern that didn't just point to sabotage. It pointed to confidence. The confidence of someone who believed I wouldn't look, wouldn't question, wouldn't trace anything back, wouldn't expect the truth to lead anywhere. Quiet hurt slid under my ribs, the kind that doesn't stab, doesn't burn, doesn't explode. It settles. Deep, heavy, familiar. I straightened in my chair slowly, quietly, the way someone does when truth rearranges the air around them. My palms flattened against the desk for a second, grounding me. Then I released a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. This wasn't confusion anymore. This was clarity forming. I clicked into the logs again, scrolling with more intention than before. Line 72. Line 73. Line 74. Then, accessed via manager desktop remote mode. My pulse didn't spike. It steadied, sharper, deeper. Remote mode. Meaning, someone had gone into my file from their own system, not mine. Someone with access. Someone with authority. Someone comfortable enough to leave a trace because they assumed I'd never know where to look. I sat back, my shoulders rising just a fraction before easing down into something stronger than calm. Composure sharpened by awareness. The office hummed around me, printers, keyboards, distant voices, but none of it touched me. Everything felt further away, like I'd stepped into a room only I could see. I opened a blank page in my notes, typed, multiple access points, single intention. I paused. Let the words sit there. Let them breathe. Because the truth behind them was bigger than the line itself. Someone didn't just hide the offer. They tried to manage my trajectory. Quietly, confidently, repeatedly. I clicked into version history again, V1, 0, V2, 0, V3, 0, and watched each line stack into a story someone thought they had successfully buried. My throat tightened at the realization that this wasn't new. This wasn't the first time I felt delayed, sidelined, reconsidered. This was just the first time I had proof. A shadow crossed my desk. I didn't look up, but I caught the reflection in the edge of my screen. A coworker moving slower than usual, glancing toward my monitor, then away. The kind of glance that carries knowledge without words. Quiet discomfort. Shared tension, unspoken awareness. We all know these moments. I moved only my eyes just enough to catch the tail end of their expression before they slipped past my cubicle and disappeared. Not guilt, not fear, but something close to both. I returned to the screen. An unexpected line in the routing path blinked. Manual forward block enabled. A breath snagged in my chest. Caught. Held, released through my nose in a slow exhale. Who blocks a forward? Who disables reminders? Who filters HR updates? Who edits metadata at 9:43 p.m.? The pattern was tighter now, the lines aligning, the story unmistakable. And the strangest part? I wasn't angry. Not yet. Because the anger would have been easy. But noticing the pattern felt heavier than anger. A familiarity washed over me, memories of moments where I'd wondered why things took longer for me, why decisions came slow, why praise was whispered, not spoken, why not now followed my name more times than logic could defend. It wasn't luck, it wasn't coincidence, it wasn't timing, it was choreography. I leaned forward slowly, elbows on the desk, chin slightly lifted micro-gesture of someone who is no longer asking questions but forming conclusions. The light from the screen traced the curve of my face, illuminating a truth I could feel in my bones. Someone planned this. I clicked deeper into the system. Slack pinged in the corner of my screen. I didn't open it, didn't check it, didn't care. I opened the message routing log instead. Line after line showed filters, delays, suppression paths I had never seen before. Then one entry stopped me entirely. Priority override auto route to manager inbox. Timestamp: 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. Before any official update. Before any announcement. Before I even knew there was a promotion cycle happening. My hands stilled on the keyboard. 3 weeks ago. That was the week Lucas suddenly started asking for quick syncs. The week he forgot to include me in the project redesign meeting. The week he told me, "Just stay focused on your current scope for now." A faint tremor moved through my fingertips. Not fear, not anxiety, but recognition. Recognition hits differently. It doesn't break you. It hardens the air around you into something true. I clicked back into my notes. Typed, "Once is an accident. Twice is a pattern. 3 times is intention." I stared at the sentence until the meaning settled fully behind my eyes. Then, I felt something shift inside my chest. Not pain, not shock, not betrayal. A turn. A quiet, internal turn. The moment where emotion stops leading and strategy begins. I looked at the logs again, this time not as someone wounded, but as someone reading an opponent's playbook. And something inside me whispered, "I see you." I sat upright, shoulders aligned, breath slow, the kind of posture that says, "I'm not reacting, I'm understanding." Because understanding is power. I ran one more search targeting variations of the offer title. The system hesitated for a long second, then produced a list. 5 versions of my promotion, 5 modifications, 5 fingerprints from someone who thought I'd never know how to trace them. The air around me tightened. Every small silence in the office felt taller. Every footstep sounded sharper. Every movement felt closer to truth. I let the room settle around me again before writing the last note of the hour. Truth isn't hiding. It's building. The cursor blinked at the end of the sentence. Calm. Patient. Waiting. I closed my eyes for one long moment. Let the entire pattern wash over me. Let the connections fortify instead of break me. Let the quiet anger settle into quiet resolve. When I opened my eyes again, everything in me felt different. Still. Focused. Ready. Emotional truth. The more I traced the edits, the more it hurt because nothing about this was accidental. Strategic implication. Patterns leave trails. And now that I see the shape of it, I know exactly what direction to follow. Soft cliffhanger. Someone planned this. The next morning, the office felt too bright. Not warm bright, not hopeful bright, but sharp, like the fluorescent lights had gained an opinion overnight. I walked in with the kind of calm I didn't quite feel yet, but needed to wear. That quiet, composed exterior Black women are forced to maintain, even when the ground shifts beneath them. My bag slid onto my desk with a soft thud. I took my seat, exhaled a steadying breath, and let my fingers hover above the keyboard for a few seconds before starting my machine. The login screen glowed. Neutral. Innocent. Deceiving. Because the logs I found yesterday were still sitting behind it, waiting, breathing quietly, like the truth itself had taken a seat beside me. Once the system loaded, I didn't open the logs immediately. I scanned the room first. Lucas stood near the break room, talking to someone from finance, but the conversation looked stiff. His shoulders angled away from me, as if avoiding my direction required effort. His laugh didn't land. His eyes flicked toward me twice, fast, then away. A tell. Across the aisle, Danielle organized her desk with nervous energy, stacking papers, then restacking them. She kept glancing toward me like she was debating whether to speak. That tension she carried yesterday lingered in her posture. Another tell. Little cracks in the performance of the room. I sat up straighter, smoothed my blouse with deliberate calm, and opened my laptop. The screen's cool light rose up to meet my face. I wasn't sure what part of me moved first, hurt or strategy, but both settled in together. I went back to the audit logs. Lines of code and timestamps cascaded down my screen, almost too quickly, almost like they were eager to be seen now that I knew what to look for. Line 88, line 89, line 90, and then modified. Unauthorized, Wednesday 8:56 a. Re-archived external trigger. My chest warmed with quiet disbelief. Wednesday at 8:56 a.m. I was in the staff meeting then, sitting 3 seats from Lucas. Present. Visible. Fully accounted for. Yet according to the system, I was simultaneously altering my own HR file. I leaned closer to the screen. My reflection ghosted against the code, still, steady. It wasn't panic I felt. It was confirmation. They didn't even bother to hide the overlap convincingly. The room around me blurred into background noise: keyboards, coughs, printers, the squeak of someone's chair. But none of it touched the place inside me, where understanding was beginning to solidify. Quiet clarity is its own kind of power. I clicked on the details. The metadata expanded. Last accessed. Manager network route. Geolocation. Internal desk cluster 3. Desk cluster 3. My eyes lifted. Desk cluster 3 was 1 row over. And it wasn't mine. A slow inhale filled my lungs, quiet, intentional, grounding. I minimized the window and took a moment to observe the row without turning my head. The glare off the monitor in front of me made it easier to watch without being seen. Someone from that row shifted uncomfortably. Someone who usually didn't. The beginning of a pattern. Another crack. I returned to my screen, opened the email thread again, and read the original HR subject line. Promotion offer. Congratulations, Melanie. I whispered inside myself, not aloud, not even in breath. Someone didn't want this to reach me. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I scrolled back to my private notes from yesterday. Once is an accident. Twice is a pattern. 3 times is intention. And now, there were 7 anomalies. 7 intentional moves. I added a new line under it. The pattern is visible now. A soft shadow passed across the screens in front of me, someone walking by slowly. I kept my eyes on my laptop, but I could feel it. The shift in their steps, the hesitation, the awareness that I was looking too closely. Quiet truth has a gravity. People sense it before they see it. Slack pinged. I opened it this time not because I needed to, but because silence can attract attention, and I didn't need eyes on me yet. A message from Lucas. Team huddle at 11. Quick check-in. Too quick. Too vague. Too coordinated. A meeting that didn't exist yesterday. I rested my elbow on the desk and placed my knuckles against my lips. A thoughtful pose on the outside. A shield for my expression on the inside. Then I clicked into the calendar metadata. The meeting wasn't created by him. It was created by HR. 10 minutes ago. My stomach tightened. Not fear, just a deeper clarity. Truth was no longer behind my screen. It was moving toward me. I stood, grabbed my notebook, and walked to the conference room early, 10 minutes early. I wanted to see the room before the room saw me. The lights inside were too bright. Cold. Clinical. Designed for visibility, not comfort. I sat at the far end of the table, posture straight, chest calm, hands folded lightly over my notebook. My breathing stayed steady even when my pulse didn't. Through the glass walls, I watched people glance at me, look away, glance back. A cough someone tried to conceal. A whisper that moved too quickly. A silence that felt like an inhale held too long. Another crack. The door opened. Danielle stepped in, first eyes flicking toward me with a mixture of sympathy and something else. Something like awareness. "Morning," she murmured. Her voice wavered just enough for me to catch. A clue. Another. She took her seat. Lucas entered last. Always last. His smile too bright. His steps too loud. His laptop placed too carefully. Not confidence. Performance. He didn't look at me. Not even for a second. A tell so loud it could have been a shout. The meeting began, but the words blurred behind the tension. Chart after chart flashed across the monitor: team progress, projections, workflow adjustments. Then one slide blinked up. Pending promotions review cycle. 2025. A list. 4 names. Mine wasn't there. But the footnote at the bottom? CHR offer. M. Carter cycle approved. A footnote someone forgot to delete. My heart didn't drop. It didn't rise. It steadied. A calm more dangerous than anger. Because the truth was standing on the table now, in neon letters no one intended to leave behind. I scribbled one sentence into my notebook. The footnote survived. Lucas glanced at me then fast. Nervous. Unintentional. He knew. And he knew I knew. I didn't flinch. Didn't look away. Didn't give him anything to read. Quiet power requires restraint. The meeting dissolved into noise after that: voices, ideas, shifting chairs, but the only sound that mattered was the click of the final slide disappearing. As soon as the meeting ended, I stood with deliberate control, closed my notebook, and walked out slowly. Not rushed, not shaken, not small. The hallway light caught the edge of my reflection in the glass wall. Shoulders back, expression unreadable, presence grounded. And for the first time since this started, I felt something new rise inside me. Not anger, not confusion, momentum. Truth was pushing upward now, cracking through the surface, reaching for the light whether anyone wanted it to or not. I walked back to my desk, opened my notes, and added one new line: steady, clear. Patterns form cracks. Cracks let truth in. I stared at the sentence until it felt like part of me. Emotional truth. The moment I saw that erased space and surviving footnote, the hurt shifted, because I realized they hadn't just hidden my offer. They tried to hide my future. Strategic shift. But every slip, every misstep, every crack, they're giving me what I need to see the full picture. Soft cliffhanger. For the first time, I could feel the truth pushing its way into the light. You won't believe what happens next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. The office was nearly empty by the time I returned from the afternoon meeting. Not the comforting kind of empty. The other kind. The quiet where truth sits on the edge of your desk, waiting for you to stop pretending you don't see it. I placed my notebook down gently. Then I lowered myself into my chair, slow, composed, steady, because the next steps needed clarity, not emotion. The logs were still open on my screen, frozen on the last anomaly. Manual forward block enabled. My fingertip hovered over the trackpad. Not shaking, not tense, just aware. I clicked. The detail pane expanded. User. MGR proxy remote device. ID. LC. Location. Manager cluster. Remote mode LC. 2 letters that told a story without telling it. But I didn't react. I couldn't, not yet. Emotion early is leverage lost. Emotion later is strategy. I took a slow inhale, feeling my ribs expand, then release the air in a controlled stream through my nose. The kind of breath you take before lifting a truth you've carried too long. Then I clicked into the secondary audit trail, one most employees don't know exists. I only knew because curiosity is a survival instinct when you're a Black woman in corporate America. Line 112 loaded. Access attempt denied, override accepted, override approved by. Manager role credential. My hand stilled. Someone didn't stumble into my file. Someone went through a locked door, then lifted the lock behind them. The truth wasn't whispering anymore. It was speaking. I opened the email archive again, scrolled past version 3.2.1, past the suppressed forward, past the reroute. A folder I hadn't seen before flickered at the bottom of the screen. Temp. Storage. Autosave. My pulse paused, one long beat suspended in my chest before continuing its steady rhythm. Temp storage only appears when a file is accessed in a sensitive mode. I clicked it. Inside sat a single PDF. Promo Carter, V1, BACK up. PDF. My throat tightened, not from fear, but from confirmation so sharp it felt surgical. Whoever tried to bury my future forgot. The system automatically creates a shadow copy when administrative edits are made. I opened the file. It bloomed across my screen with a clarity that made my breath catch. My name. My new title. The salary band. The HR signature. Untouched. Unedited. Undeniable. I lowered my palm flat on the desk. A grounding gesture. A quiet acknowledgement that the truth wasn't something I imagined. It was real. It always had been. I sat there for a long moment, allowing the weight of it to settle into the spaces my doubt once lived in. And slowly, very slowly, my doubt had no place left to hide. A hallway conversation drifted toward me, two coworkers passing by. I thought she was already told. Lucas said it was on hold. On hold? But HR, shh, keep walking. I didn't turn, didn't breathe differently, but my pulse sharpened. I wasn't supposed to hear that, but truth leaks. It always does. I clicked into the version, comparisons folder, and pulled up the changelog. V1, 0. Uploaded by HR Director V2, 0. Reroute. Enabled by Manager V3, 0. Proxy. Edit. V3. 2. Rearchive. V3. 2.1. Forward block. Then I noticed a timestamp ID missed earlier. 8:14 p.m. Notification. Suppressed 8:15 p.m. Routing path forced to manager. Inbox 8:17 p.m. Marked as read. My spine straightened without my permission. At 8:17 p.m. Someone read my promotion for me. Someone opened my future without me. Someone accepted the congratulations meant for me. And the system recorded it. A quiet ache moved behind my sternum. Not a sharp ache. A deep one. The ache of being unseen while fully visible. The ache of being handled without being acknowledged. The ache of being brilliant but managed into silence. I clicked the metadata box again and followed the routing trail backward. It led to one user signature, one ID sequence, and one role-based credential that didn't belong to me. My breath thinned. My voice formed a sentence I didn't speak out loud. I see exactly what you did. I dragged the shadow copy into a new folder labeled Full Evidence Verified. Then I opened a new email draft, not to send it, just to look at the structure of truth assembled. To HR Director Subject. For your awareness, attachments. 22 files. I didn't add a word to the body. The evidence didn't need commentary. But I didn't send it yet. Because sending it now would make this about emotion. And I wasn't operating from emotion anymore. I was operating from clarity. A Slack message pinged. Then another. Then another. I ignored them. Then my screen lit up with a calendar notification. Meeting request HR Director tomorrow. 9 a.m. Attendees, HR, Legal, Melanie Carter, Lucas C. My heart didn't jump. It anchored. Everything I uncovered, the logs, the reroutes, The shadow copy aligned with the meeting invite in one clean, decisive line. Truth wasn't on the way. It was scheduled. The office around me felt too quiet, too still, too breathless, like the building itself was waiting. I closed the notification, closed the logs, closed the shadow copy, then rested both hands on the desk, palms down, grounding myself in the moment the truth finally stopped hiding. Emotional truth. The moment I opened that backup file, the hurt inside me shifted into something steadier because the truth wasn't a suspicion anymore. It was proof. Strategic shift. Now that I have the full sequence clean, chronological, undeniable, the next move isn't confrontation. It's precision. Soft cliffhanger. Tomorrow the truth wouldn't just exist. It would have witnesses. If you've ever been overlooked or underpaid, this part's for you, and if you feel that, hit that. The morning light felt heavier than usual. Not warm, not gentle. Just present like it was following me down the hallway, insisting on witnessing whatever was about to unfold. My shoes clicked against the tile with a calm I didn't entirely feel, but I carried it anyway. Quiet, observant, strategic, wounded but steady, underestimated but alert. The HR conference room was already lit when I arrived. Glass walls, cold air, a table too long for comfort and too bright for secrets. I stepped inside with controlled composure and took a seat on the side closest to the window. Not at the head of the table, not at the foot, right where truth sits when it doesn't need permission. I placed my folder on the table. Closed, neat, unbothered. HR entered first, posture straight, expression unreadable. Legal followed, calm, measured, polite, in a way that made my skin prickle with awareness. The last person to enter was Lucas. He moved too quickly, his smile too tight, his laptop too close to his chest. He didn't look at me. Not once. That alone told me everything. The HR director began. "Thank you for joining us, everyone." Her tone carried that specific softness, the kind people use when they're about to say something heavy but don't want their voice to reveal the weight. She looked at me first. "Melanie, we reviewed the documentation you provided." Legal slid a packet across the table. My screenshot, my logs, my timeline, my proof, bound, indexed, organized by someone whose job is accuracy. My breath didn't change. My posture didn't shift. But something deep in me settled, quiet but firm. The reversal was already happening. HR continued. "The evidence shows multiple unauthorized actions taken on your HR file." She folded her hands. "Multiple attempts to reroute communication." A pause. "Multiple manual overrides." Another pause. "Multiple edits using a manager proxy credential." Lucas shifted. Barely. But I saw it. A tremor in the knee. A swallow too tight. A blink too slow. He tried to speak. There must be a misunderstanding." Legal cut him off gently but firmly. "Please wait until the review summary is complete." His mouth closed immediately. Not from respect. From fear. HR continued, voice even. "The system logs identify one consistent credential used in these actions." She turned a page. LC. The air thickened. My heart didn't rush. It slowed. Not triumph. Not revenge. Clarity. Pure, undeniable clarity. Lucas finally looked at me. A tiny flick. Then away. A micro-expression of someone who thought they had control and just realized they didn't. Legal leaned forward slightly. "This behavior is a direct violation of company policy, HR protocol, digital ethics, and employment law." Lucas inhaled sharply. "That's not I didn't. That's taken out of context." His voice cracked on the last word. "He didn't mean it to. But truth has a way of shaking the people who built their safety on silence. HR lifted her hand. We also confirmed the promotion was real, and the offer was valid. My throat tightened once, just once, before I steadied myself again. She turned to me. You were selected because of your performance, Melanie. That has not changed. I nodded, controlled, measured. I understand. Quiet power is in the words you don't waste. HR turned back to Lucas. The tension in the room shifted. Subtly, but unmistakably. The same way the ocean shifts before a wave breaks. Effective immediately, she said, you are removed from all managerial responsibilities. The sentence landed gently, but it hit the floor like stone. Lucas' shoulders caved inward. His hand trembled near the laptop. His eyes darted toward me, toward HR, toward legal, searching for someone to save him from the consequences he built with his own hands. I watched him, not with satisfaction, not with cruelty, with truth. You'll be placed on administrative leave pending full investigation. He exhaled shakily, like the breath had been punched out of him. HR continued, voice still steady. And as for you, Melanie, the room shifted again, quiet, but noticeable. Like the center of gravity just moved toward my side of the table. Your promotion will be corrected and reissued immediately. I felt my breath expand in my chest, deep, warm, grounding. Not excitement, not relief. Recognition. Recognition of my own worth. Recognition of my own truth. Recognition of everything I carried quietly while someone else tried to dim my path. Lucas spoke again, voice cracking. This is being blown out of proportion. Legal closed the folder. No, it's being documented. The reversal was complete. The power in the room was no longer his. It wasn't even HR's. It was Truth's. The meeting ended. HR thanked me for my clarity. Legal nodded with a kind of respect that doesn't require words. Lucas left the room, last eyes down, breath uneven, footsteps unsteady. I stayed seated for a moment, letting the quiet wrap around me, letting the reality settle, letting the weight lift gently. Then I stood, gathered my folder, straightened my jacket, and walked out, with the same calm I walked in with, only this time. The calm wasn't armor. It was mine. Emotional truth. They tried to erase my voice, but they forgot I kept every receipt. Strategic truth. The moment they touched my future, they created the evidence that protected it. Soft cliffhanger. Leading to part 7. Now that the truth is out, the real question is what I choose to do with it. The hallway felt different when I stepped out of the HR conference room. Not lighter. Not louder, just clearer, like someone had wiped a fog off the air. I'd been breathing for months without realizing how heavy it had become. I walked slowly, letting the silence settle around me. People glanced up as I passed, some with curiosity, some with quiet support, some with that look that says, I heard something, but I won't ask. I didn't need them to. I knew my truth now, and that was enough. When I reached my desk, the morning sunlight was hitting it at an angle I had never noticed before. Soft, warm, steady. Not dramatic, not triumphant, just honest. I sat down and placed the HR folder on the surface gently. No rush, no adrenaline, just intention. Inside it was my promotion letter. Clean, official, stamped. Undeniable. My fingertips rested lightly on the edge, an instinctive pause. Not disbelief, not hesitation, just a quiet acknowledgement of the version of myself who kept going long before this moment arrived. I opened the letter. My name, my title, Senior Operations Manager. I traced the ink silently with my eyes. This wasn't a gift. This wasn't compensation. This wasn't an apology wrapped in paperwork. This was alignment. Me catching up to what I had already earned. Not today. Not yesterday. Months ago. I leaned back in my chair, letting the truth settle where doubt used to live. It didn't hurt anymore, not the way it did when I first saw the hidden email. The pain had reshaped itself into something steadier, something like pride. Not loud pride, not boastful pride, just a quiet knowing of my own value. A value that didn't change when they hid the offer. A value that didn't shrink when they rerouted it. A value that didn't disappear when someone tried to slow me down. My value had always been mine. No filter. No proxy. No override. I glanced toward the break room. Lucas wasn't there. His desk was empty. His nameplate removed. The absence didn't bring satisfaction. It brought clarity. People make choices. Choices build patterns. Patterns leave evidence. And evidence tells stories more honestly than people do. I closed the HR folder and opened my notebook, the same one filled with timestamps, notes, and observations that carried me from suspicion to truth. I flipped to a blank page. My pen hovered for a moment. Then I wrote, "Preparation saved me. Clarity protected me. And truth carried me forward." I stared at the sentence, letting each word anchor itself into my chest. This experience taught me something I should have already known but sometimes forget. Quiet does not mean passive. Stillness does not mean small. Softness does not mean invisible. Quiet is a strategy. Stillness is a choice. Softness is resilience. People underestimate what they can't hear, and sometimes that's the advantage. A Slack notification pinged, then another, then 3 more. Congratulations messages. Welcome to the role messages. Check-in messages from teams I'd never even worked with directly. I typed short replies. Calm, measured, intentional, not rushed, not emotional, just present. When I looked up, the office seemed different. Not because anything had changed physically, but because I had. The version of me who doubted whether she saw the truth clearly, she didn't exist anymore. The version of me who paused before trusting her instincts, she learned better. The version of me who stayed quiet to avoid being labeled difficult, she realized quiet has power on its own. I closed my laptop and let my hands rest on it for a moment, palms soft against the cool metal. The lesson wasn't about betrayal, or sabotage, or the person who tried to shrink my path. It was about me, about the way I survived an environment built on silence, about the way I held on to my dignity when someone tried to make me question it, about the way I trusted the whisper of truth inside me more than the noise around me, and most of all, about the way I refused to disappear, even when someone moved my future behind closed doors. I stood up slowly from my chair, straightened my jacket, lifted my chin just a little higher, and walked toward the window. The city outside stretched wide, messy, loud, unpredictable but full of opportunity for someone with eyes sharp enough to see what others overlook. I pressed my hand lightly against the glass, a grounding gesture, a reminder that I was still here, whole, visible, unshaken. Emotional resolution. They tried to dim my value, but my value was never theirs to control. Life lesson. When you stand with truth even quietly, it rearranges the room. It shifts the power. It forces what was hidden to reveal itself. Quiet future cliffhanger. They tried to bury the truth, but it grew anyway. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this story. If it spoke to you, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more stories that heal, inspire, and remind us who we are. For every Black woman told to stay quiet, speak anyway.